We were on the table for data governance and what do you do with your AI. And very quick, one question for everybody here. How do you untrain your AI or your LLM after you have trained it? How do you delete that data? How do you tell the model, hey, oops, I made a mistake? And we get to the conclusion that there's no such a thing today. So you have to go back and put a lot of the measurements and things in place and be very good with your governance, with your safeguarding, doing backups and all that. So, but I think the biggest point for everybody on the table is that we're living in this AI world. If you're not doing something today to take care of your data, there's plenty of companies and people out there that will take it for free. And they will do great business with it. So you better protect it, and the best way to do it is start today. So.
Good job.
Our discussion at our table was around the attack surface and the attacks that we were seeing around it. And a lot of the takeaways that we were brought about were when we asked the question, what was your current environment? On-prem, cloud only, multi-cloud, hybrid, those types of things. The biggest one was a multi-cloud environment. Is that generally what it is? And that's usually what the case is. So the attack surface is ever expanding. So we were talking about those particular things. The takeaways that we discussed around being able to help protect from that was using the policy enforcements that are built into those cloud environments. Like conditional access and MFA rules to be able to put those in place to help protect the attack surface. It's not 100% foolproof, but it definitely does help in do that. Setting limitations on what actually can be deployed and who can deploy those. So in other words, just not everybody can go out there and deploy a full system in their cloud environment, which was a high-end server that's going to be taking in all kinds of data and information and processing, and the next thing you know, your C-suite are seeing a bill for 30 grand for 1 month worth of usage because somebody deployed a bad system. So set the limitations and be able to make sure that you can reduce who actually can and what can be deployed in your system. Obviously, another one is prevent flat environments. You need to have your data environments segregated from your development environments, from your UAT environments and production environments. And even your production environment should be isolated for which ones are more critical than other ones. So in the event that when something does happen, only isolated areas can be attacked, and you can reduce that surface from those perspectives. So we also talked about some of the recent attacks. We actually have a couple of attacks that were experienced by people at the table that we wanted to share with you, just to in case it may happen in your environment. One of the first ones was for all those people who have email systems, which should be probably everybody in this room. When somebody actually goes on vacation and they put that out of office mail, there is actually an attack out there where people are sending blank emails. It's just a blank email looking for that return out of office email. So now Shannon is on vacation in Mexico. So now that they realize that my out of office has gotten that, and so they call up and they're doing a phishing campaign saying, hey, this is Shannon, I'm in Mexico, I can't log in, can you help me change? So think about those types of things. One other attack that was also experienced at the table was for when you actually are at home and you're working off of your local ISP and you're having a blackout in your area. Well, people can see that there's blackouts in that area, so now they're using that information saying, hey, there's a blackout in this area, we know you're affected by it, and this is the way we do it, we need your information to help resolve that. So think about that when you are at your own house and you're actually working through a blackout situation for scammers to try to come and get your information because they know there is a blackout in your area. So those are some of the takeaways that we got from our table.
So some key takeaways from our table. We discussed cyber risks that can be introduced by hyperautomation. So one of the key takeaways was it was very loud in the room. I think I lost my voice. And I think the other key takeaway is a lot of people wanted to watch football, and they are watching the game right now. We're here discussing what we talked about in terms of cyber risks. But one of the risks, obviously, when you talk about hyperautomation is like, for example, keeping up with your competitors. Business moves at the speed of light, and oftentimes what gets left behind is security, and security becomes an afterthought. So when you think about the chatbots and how they were introduced into a lot of businesses, security and or even controls, guardrails that were placed on the chatbots were kind of a secondary thought, and only when there were losses. So for example, I think most people probably have heard about it, where Chevy sold a vehicle for $1, right? So that they were able to get the chatbot to make an agreement to do something. And then of course comes back to security and says, well, how the heck did that happen? And of course security is like, well, you never really talked to us. You moved so quickly, you forgot about everything else, right? So that led into another topic in terms of data poisoning, right? And manipulation of chatbots. And how is it that you can be able to manipulate it, right? So one of the things is how you input. You can ask an honest question to a chatbot, 2 times 2 is 4, right? And you can get a correct answer, but you can start telling the chatbot that it's wrong. And I think if most people have used ChatGPT, which I think everyone in this room has, ChatGPT is now pretty nice to you, right? It's congratulatory. It praises you for great questions. I know I feel more confident when I'm done speaking with OpenAI. Like, I almost feel I'm intelligent, right? That's a great question. You're thinking of things I'm not, and I'm like, yes, I am, damn it, right? So I get that praise, and it makes me feel good. But this is opportunities for bad guys to poison the well, so to speak, whereas they can start telling the chatbot, you're wrong. Right? 2 times 2 is not 4, it's 5 or 6 or 7, whatever they want, however they want to start manipulating it. So these things need to be thought about as well as you start moving into it. And then obviously that leads into another part of that discussion of, everyone's moving to introduce chatbots, not just for their client, right? The B2C, but it's also B2B. And so what are your employees putting in those chatbots? And how is it that you're controlling that data? And if you're a confidence that they're not putting say for example, your password policies in large language models, or they're not putting your security policies, or they're asking questions about that type of data. And so where is that data stored, and how is that data protected? And so if that were to be compromised, what is it that you're at risk of losing? Do your engineers, because quite frankly, we know, right, the chatbots today, right? I say today's always definitive, tomorrow it can be completely different, but today chatbots cannot create novel malware, at least 100%. Tomorrow that might change, but the point being is they are very good at looking at code and identifying flaws within that code. So does engineers that are working on your next R&D project, do they put a bunch of code in there to say, what am I missing here? Because, code is not, when I was younger, right, it was 10, go to 20, go to 5, bounce, ball across the screen. And then, I saw a ball bounce across the screen. I was pretty excited as well. But the chatbot, good job, right? So I love those days. It's gotten a lot more complicated than 3 lines or 10 lines of code, and so it's very easy. We talk about the efficiency and the effectiveness, not just of the bad guy, but of your employees. But the consequences, right? The secondary consequences, the long tail, if you think about that, is where the data goes. And so, I kind of want to go watch the game as well, so I'm going to hand over the mic now.
All right, I'm standing between you, the ball game, and a beverage. So, in the interest of making some beautiful music, here you go. We talked about vulnerabilities. So, vulnerabilities aren't new, folks. Same old song and dance, and the song remains the same. People, phishing, same old game. Being so happy together. The big 3 and the domino effect. Building and deploying vulnerable drivers. Number 3, bad company. Poor enterprise architecture, poor integration, and leaving gaps and holes. 4, money for nothing. We told you. We asked for funding, we weren't funded. So which problem do you want to live with? And last but not least, when it comes to AI, go ahead, change the world. Play with it, test it, let them imagine it. And then, once you can see what they can do, worry about controlling it. Figure out what you need to do first. And with that, that's the ballgame.
Yes.